How many people speak more than one language? Or second, or more than a third language? I think that as we become more of a wiser person and we get older, learning more than one language is really important. In my device, I brought a disc that I have different music that represents my Hispanic culture.
Besándome otra vez, suavemente, bésame, que quiero sentir tus labios, besándome otra vez, suave, bésame, suave, bésame otra vez, suave, quiero sentir tus labios.
Look at the two of you dancing that way, lost in the moment and each other's face.
Yo soy amigo de todos, curioso y muy verdadero. Yo respeto igual al pobre que uno que tenga dinero. Para las hembras bonitas, yo siempre soy.
All of this music, like different salsa, corridos, and banda, they all represent my culture because, well, corridos started because when, like, with famous people such as like Pancho Villa, they would talk about his past and the stories of his life and things that he did. And my American culture, such as like they have country, hip hop, rap, etc. I identify more with the country music because that's what I like the most. I could hear both Spanish and English music because that's what I understand both. If I was like maybe Filipino or I spoke French, maybe I would listen to that kind of music, but I don't speak those languages, so I stick to Spanish and English music. When I listen to like banda and corridos, it makes me feel like I'm with my family in Mexico because in Mexico, that's all the type of music you listen to. Now that I talked about how I identify, or about my music and my culture and all of that, now I'm going to talk how I identify myself with it. When I was a first grader, I started off I didn't speak any English until I got to the first grade. My mom walks into my classroom with a counselor, and she tells me, Mija, this is not going to be your class anymore. So I was like, why not? You know, all my friends were there, they spoke Spanish, and she was going to take me to another classroom. And when I was she took me to my other classroom, I saw my teacher was from American descent, and she was white. So I ran out and I was crying, and I told my mom, I'm not going to go in there because I don't speak any English. So when I walked out, my mom's like, no, you have to come in here because this is your new classroom. You need to learn English. And since I didn't know how to read it or write it, they got me a tutor. And the tutor helped me study. She taught me how to read. She taught me how to write it, and she told me like that I was getting processed and that I was getting better. So that made me feel good about myself. It was hard to learn English, but today I'm happy that I speak English because if it wasn't for my mom that put me in a English speaking class, I would have probably kept speaking Spanish and not practiced my English. So that's why I identify myself with this culture. Knowing more than one language, I think it's a great thing to have with you because as we get older, when we get a job, we will be able to like interpret for other people that don't speak. Like for me, if someone doesn't speak English, I would be able to help them speak Spanish and it will interpret. And first, we learned about what my cultural object represents, the music, and how I identify myself with it. And now I encourage you guys, for those that don't speak more than 2 languages or only speak 1 language, that one day you will have your own children and let them speak more than just their primary